Hey there, I'm Patrick Franco. Let's look at Parivrtta Trikonasana, Revolved Triangle Pose. This is a standing pose, a standing revolved pose. And as we know, the progression of the standing poses typically moves from the most spacious to the most compact and then finally revolved. So by the time you get to this pose in a class, the hope is that your body is warmed up and fully prepared to take on this deep twist. Revolved triangle stretches the legs because it's a standing pose, so it stretches the feet, the ankles, the Achilles, the calves. It stretches the hamstrings because it has two straight legs. It also stretches the sides of the trunk because in order to twist, we need good length in the side of the body. And then it stretches the entirety of the back, the low back, the mid back, and the upper back in order to turn. Lastly, it does stretch the neck, especially if you're turning to look up at that top hand. Now, revolved triangle, in order to find stability from which to turn and revolve from, also strengthens a lot of key components of the body. It strengthens the feet, the ankles, the outer hips. That provides stability in the lower body. It strengthens the muscles of the spine and the abdomen in order to revolve the entirety of the torso. And lastly, because the arms are fully extended, it strengthens the shoulders and muscles of the arms. So let's go ahead and take a look at Parivrtta Trikonasana now. We'll start in Tadasana, hands down, and then we will step our feet 3.5 to 4.5 feet wide. So I'm gonna show you the back first. I'm gonna turn my one leg out, and then I'm gonna turn my back leg in. And when I turn my back leg in, just like Warrior One or Parivrtta pyramid pose, the back foot has to fully spiral so that the toes come to a 45-degree angle. So that means I'm gonna lift my heel to get my leg around, and then I do have to replant it. Classically, this pose is heel to heel, and it might feel like you're standing on a tightrope. And that is actually important for this pose if you want to get this hand across that foot. The wider stance you take, the more challenging it is going to be to get this hand across that foot. So we'll talk about creating space in a moment, but for now, there is a significance of being on this tightrope for this pose. Once you're here, we're going to turn the trunk even more towards that front leg and then press the heels down and straighten the legs. We're going to lift this arm up because in order to turn, we want as much space as we can get in the side of the trunk. Just like pyramid pose, Parivrtta, I'm going to come forward. Instead of bringing both hands down, I'm going to bring one hand down, if possible, across the bottom foot. So on the pinky toe side of the bottom foot. And then with the top hand on the hip, I now start to turn. My legs have to continue to straighten. My hips have to go back away from my head. And lastly, the arm can go up. And that helps lift and lengthen the chest. To come out, you can bend your leg, cartwheel your arms out, and stand up. So that's the classic version of Parivrtta Trikonasana. But there's some things that often come up as challenges when practicing this pose. I already alluded to one. One of those things is to feel stability. And we know that standing poses, we should feel stability. So if standing in that heel to heel tightrope stance is not allowing you to find stability, well, then that's going to be even more difficult to then try to find a turning of your trunk. So one thing we can do is widen the stance. But once we widen the stance, we know it's going to be more difficult to bring the hand fully across the foot. So in that instance, we might bring the hand inside the foot. So let's see what that looks like. We'll start the same way. Leg turns, back leg turns, You might notice, oh, I'm having difficulty standing and finding stability. So I widen my foot to the right, widen my foot to the left. Now to get this hand all the way across is probably not possible. So I'll simply bring my hand to the inside of my foot. But everything else will be the same. I lift my chest, lift my arm, keep that length. I come forward. Now I bring my hand down inside my foot. The legs still straighten, the hips still go back. Then I can still turn my trunk and again, use that arm. And the last thing I want to talk about is using blocks. And so I have 2 blocks here. A great tool. Maybe you're having a hard time keeping those legs straight. And if you're twisting and letting your hips and knees bend along with the twist, well, then you're not really creating dynamic extension and spinal revolution. And so in that case, so that you can keep your legs straight and keep your hips back, well, you might just use the blocks. And that's a perfect alternative than bringing your hands to the floor. So whether you're going to put your hand inside or outside your foot, you can use the block either way. Everything else is the same. We'll turn. I have a block on both the outside and inside, so whichever one that will work. It depends on where you put your legs. So I'm going to go inside the foot for this one. And again, the block has 3 heights, low, medium, and high. And then everything else is the same as the classic version, except I don't have to bring my hand to the floor. All right, Revolved Triangle Parivrtta Trikonasana, a strong, dynamic, twisting standing pose. You'll see somewhere at the end of the standing pose section. Hopefully your body is well prepared by the time you get there. All right, we'll see you on the mat next time.